Okay, Mr. Chair, we are up on YouTube, so you can get started when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Fort Erie Committee of Adjustment meeting of February 17th, 2022. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. I now call this meeting to order. First, I'd like to introduce you to the committee members and staff. To my left is committee member David Gianfrancisco. To my right is committee member Ken Burden. To my bottom left is Brianna Antonio, Secretary Treasurer, who will be recording minutes of tonight's meeting. To my bottom right is Mackenzie Cece, meeting host, with whom is doing the back-end technical duties. And myself, Terry Moore, chair of tonight's meeting. To those members of the public who may be participating electronically in the public meeting portion of this meeting tonight, you may wish to put your view on gallery view by clicking the top right corner from speaker view. I also ask that you are mindful of background noise for the duration of the meeting. Please also note that participating members of the public will remain in the virtual waiting room via telephone or electronically until they are called upon during the public meeting. This is a statutory public meeting under the Planning Act for the purposes of considering both minor variances and consent applications. The committee have been provided with all written comments received by agencies and public prior to this meeting. Committee members are asked to mute their microphones until you are asked to speak. Please raise your hand if you would like to speak and vote by raising your hand. The purpose of the meeting is to obtain input from residents relative to the applications. Those participating online via Zoom will be asked to raise their virtual hand when they wish to speak. On a computer, you can do this by clicking on participants in the bottom center of the screen and then clicking raise your hand. On a mobile device, you can tap more in the bottom right and then tapping raise hand. You will be brought into the meeting by staff. You can then unmute yourself and start your video by using the buttons on your screen. If you are participating by phone and wish to raise your hand, press *9 and you will be unmuted by staff. Next, we will hear from the applicant or agent and then from those in support or opposition of the applicant or to ask questions. We ask that each attendee keep their comments to under 10 minutes to allow all attendees the opportunity to speak. Applicants and attendees are advised that they are free to leave the webinar once decision has been made on their application. Each application will proceed in the following order. The Secretary Treasurer will summarize the purpose and effect of the application and any comments received. Applicant will be called upon to speak and make further comments if they have any. Committee members will then ask questions of the applicant. The public will be asked to speak one at a time and to state their full name and address for the record and any comments they may have towards the application. The chair will close the application once all comments have been heard. Committee members will then make a decision on the application, approved, refused, or deferred, and state if any conditions apply. Please address your comments and questions directly through the chair. Each application will be heard in the order in which they appear on the agenda. The notice of decision will be provided to all applicants stating the outcome of the hearing and any conditions of approval if required. Please note that the correspondence and comments received this evening are restricted to the matters of the Committee of Adjustment and the Planning Act. In considering each application this evening, the Committee of Adjustment will have due regard for the provisions of Section 55 and Section 53 of the Ontario Planning Act of 1990 as amended. A 20-day appeal period exists for each application heard this evening. Final appeal dates are noted on the notice of decision and are available by requesting a copy in writing. I will begin by asking the committee members present if they have any conflicts of interest with respect to any of the applications to be heard this evening. David?
I do not.
Ken?
I do not.
And I do not. I now ask the Secretary Treasurer if notice of this meeting was properly given in accordance with provisions of the Ontario Planning Act.
Yes, all property owners within 60 meters of the subject parcels were circulated as per Planning Act requirements.
Thank you. And have you received any requests for adjournment or withdrawal respecting any of tonight's applications?
No, none.
Okay. We will now proceed with the first application. So the first application tonight is minor variance files B06/22 and minor variance 812 and 81322. Address is 3190 Poplar Avenue. Upper Canada Consultants is the applicant, and the owner is DeFrancisco Construction Limited. So Brianna, could you read a summary of the related correspondence and comments received, please?
Sure. So application B06-2022 for 3190 Poplar Avenue is proposed to create a new lot along with concurrent minor variance applications A1222 and A1322. Staff's recommendation reports and comments have been circulated to the applicant. Staff has no objections to the consent application, subject to 8 conditions, which are approval of minor variance files A12-2022 and A13-2022 by the Committee of Adjustment, removal of the metal shed on Part 1, payment of 5% cash in lieu of parkland dedication, that the applicant, solicitor, and or land surveyor provide the Secretary Treasurer with a legal description of the subject parcel to be registered on title, together with an original copy of the deed of deposit of reference plan, payment of the final consent certification fee in the amount of $177. And then that the applicant make payment of $500 to the town of Fort Erie for 1 tree to be planted on the boulevard, that an overall lot grading plan for Part 1 is to be submitted by the applicant and owner, and that the applicant and owner provide the town with the location of the existing services, water service and sanitary lateral from the respective main lines, and the road allowance to where they enter the existing dwelling on the property. Our building department has no objection to the application. Our drainage superintendent has no objection to the application. Our fire chief has no objection to the application. Neighborhood planner and urban designer, no objection to the application. The MTO has no objection to the application. Canadian Niagara Power does comment that the lot will create an aerial trespass issue for overhead service wires to 3190 Poplar Avenue, and the applicant is to contact Canadian Niagara Power to correct this issue. And those are all comments received.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Rowe.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, I think I missed that step. Anyway, would you like to comment on any of the applications or any of the comments that were received?
Not much to add. The property consists of almost 3 full lots of former planned subdivision there. So it's essentially a double wide. We're asking for a little bit of relief to create 2 lots. There's certainly ample room for consistent dwellings, same size and scale as things that are in the neighborhood. We're pleased to see that staff and the review agencies are supportive. We have no challenge to any of those conditions. I will add anecdotally for the benefit of the committee, we did have a little bit of discussions coming up to the committee meeting about the location of those services. We were planning to get them to the town ahead of time for this meeting. However, because of all the snow and then the rain and then the snow and then all of that, we're going to wait till it dries out a little bit, and then we're going to go spike them in the ground and find out where things are. We'll provide all that. And we did have an opportunity to talk to Jeff Hoover at CMP. They're just going to basically slide the line service over off the middle of the line to serve the existing dwelling, and then we'll be taking new service off the pole. So no objections from our end. We're really pleased with the process and the recommendation before you. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you. Do any of the committee members have any questions of the applicant? David?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
Ken?
Either do I, Mr. Chair.
And I have no questions as well. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment? Please raise your virtual hand.
Mr. Chair, we only have the 2 other applicants in the waiting room at this time.
Okay. Then the public hearing regarding this file will be closed, and I'll ask the members present if they would like to express their views on the proposal. Dave?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be in favor of both the consent file and the minor variance. The minor variance meets the 4 tests, so I have no issue with that one. And the consent file, I'm in agreement with, as it's good for town, municipal, and provincial planning. So I'm also in agreement with that tonight.
Thank you, Ken.
Mr. Chair, I'll be in favor of supporting the applications. They certainly do meet the tests for the minor variance. The applicant has made mention that they have no objection to any of the conditions. So I think it's a go forward application.
Okay, thank you. We should probably do this in two motions.
Yes,
Brianna, yes? So I'd entertain a motion for the consent application first, please.
David,
Okay, I'll put a motion forward that consent file B0622 be accepted tonight, considering all written and oral submissions that we have with all the conditions set forth in various reports.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Carried. Your application for the consent has been approved. You will receive written notice of this committee's decision, and it will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. So now the minor variance.
I'll put a motion
Applications.
forward that minor variance file A1222 and A1322 be accepted, considering all written and oral comments given tonight with all the conditions set forth in the various files.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Carried. Your application for the minor variances has been approved. You receive written notice of the committee decision. Decisions become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. So thank you very much for appearing tonight.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
All set? The second file tonight is consent files B07, B08, and B09. The address is 544 Walden Boulevard. The applicant is Anthony James Inferna, and the agent, I guess, is the same. So could you have Mr. Inferna come in, please? Good afternoon, Mr. Inferna.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, committee members, and planning staff.
You're ready to proceed tonight?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. Secretary Treasurer, could you please read a summary of related correspondence and comments received, please?
Sure. Applications B0722, B0822, and B0922 for 544 Walden Boulevard submitted by Anthony Inferna. Proposed to create 3 new lots to facilitate the construction of 2 semi-detached dwellings for a total of 4 dwelling units. Planning staff have circulated all the report and comments to the applicant. Planning staff have no objection to the consent application, subject to 5 conditions, which are payment of 5% cash in lieu of parkland dedication to the town of Fort Erie, removal of the existing garage on the subject lands, installation of a closed construction board-on-board fence, 1.83 meters in height along the outer side yards of parts 1 and 4 and the rear yards of parts 1 to 4. All fencing is to conform with the regulations of the town's fence bylaw. That the applicant solicitor provide the secretary treasurer with a legal description of the subject parcel to be registered on title, together with an electronic copy of the deed of the deposited reference plan, and if required for use in the issuance of consent certificate, payment of the final certification fee in the amount of $185. Additional conditions provided by our engineering division are for part 1 that the applicant is to make payment in the amount of $500 to the town for 1 tree, that an overall lot grading plan for part 1, 2, 3, and 4 be submitted by the applicant. For part 2, that the applicant make payment of $500 to the town of Fort Erie for 1 tree. And also that an overall lot grading plan for part 1, 2, and 3, and 4 be submitted. And for part 3, the applicant make payment in the amount of $500 for 1 tree. And then overall lot grading plan for part 1, 2, 3, and 4 also be submitted. The fire chief has no comment on the application. Neighborhood planner, no comment on the application, no objection. The NPCA has no objection to the application. The MTO has no objection to the application. Canadian Niagara Power has no concerns or objection to the application. However, are noting that if relocation of any existing CNP plant is required for access or servicing of the 4 proposed lots, that the cost will be the responsibility of the customer. And those are all comments received.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I did miss one. Our drainage superintendent has no comment as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Inferno, would you like to comment on the application or any of the correspondence?
No, I agree with the planning staff report.
Okay, thank you. Do the committee members have any questions of the applicant? David or Ken, sorry. Guess it's your turn.
I do not, Mr. Chair.
David?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
And I have no questions. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment? Please raise their virtual hand.
Mr. Chair, I'm only seeing our last applicant for the evening in the waiting room.
Okay, thank you. I'll declare the public hearing regarding this file now closed, and I'll ask the members present if they would like to express their view on the proposal. Ken?
Mr. Chair, I'd be in support of the consent applications. It does, the creation of the infill parcels in the urban area is supported by the provincial, regional, town planning. It's all been detailed by the staff. The applicant has indicated they are in no objection to the conditions that have been raised.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
I will also be in favor of this tonight, Mr. Chair, for the exact reasons that Ken stated already. It does meet with good planning, and I'll be in support of it.
Okay, thank you.
So-
Now,
Sorry,
entertain-
through you, Mr. Chair, before the motion, I don't mean to interrupt.
That's
But if I
okay.
could, I did forget to read the regional comments on this one.
Oh.
The region did provide comments that they do not object to the proposed consent application, provided that a legal undertaking between the developer and town is completed to ensure the appropriate building material and devices are installed through future construction of all dwellings, and that a warning clause is included in all future agreements for the lots. And the warning clause should read that purchasers and tenants are advised that despite the inclusion of noise control features in the development, sound levels due to traffic from Garrison Road may occasionally interfere with some activities of the dwelling's occupants, as the sound levels may exceed the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks noise criteria. I apologize for missing that, but I just wanted to get it in there before a motion came forward.
That's okay. Mr. Inferno, you had a pre-consult, did you not, with the region over
Yep.
this? I believe? Yeah. Would you like to add anything with the regional comments?
No, like I'm aware of the exterior needs to be brick, and then wood fence needs to be constructed, and that's ideally what we'd want anyways for this
Okay,
property.
thank
So
Okay, thank you. Ken, did you want to change any of the comments that you made earlier due to the additional correspondence?
I believe that the conditions that outlined by the staff are sufficient.
Okay, thank you. And Dave, sorry.
No, there's no changes, Ken. Thanks.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion. Ken?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that in consideration of all the written and oral submissions, that consent files B07, B08, and B09 of 2022 for 544 Wallen Boulevard be approved with the stated conditions of provisional consent.
Okay, thank you. Seconder?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision, and the decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. Thanks very much for appearing tonight.
thank you all for your time tonight. Have a great night.
You too. Okay, the final application tonight is minor variance file A1122. The address is 3111 Bethune Avenue, and the owner is Jeremy Sock. Hope that's pronounced correctly. Mackenzie, could you bring Mr. Sock in, please? Good afternoon, Mr. Sock. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Was that pronounced correctly?
Suck, like
Sock.
book.
All right. That was pretty close.
All right,
Okay.
it's all right.
Okay, are you ready to proceed tonight?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Brianna, could you please read a summary of the related correspondence and comments received, please?
Sure. Application A1122 for 3211 Bethune Avenue, submitted by Jeremy and Darlene Suk, are requesting relief from the total permitted lot coverage for accessory structures from 10% to 11%. Staff's report and all comments were forwarded to the applicant. Planning staff have no objection to the application. Our drainage superintendent has no objection to the application. Our fire chief has no objection or comments or concerns. Building department, no objection, comments or concerns. Our neighborhood planner and urban designer, no objection, comments or concerns. Our engineering division has no comments. The MTO has no comments. Bell Canada has no comments. And lastly, CN Power has no concerns.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Suk, would you like to comment on any of the correspondence or the application tonight?
No, I think sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Do the committee members have any questions of the applicant? Dave?
I do not.
Ken?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
And I have none. There's no one in the audience, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then I'll declare the public portion of the hearing closed, and I'll ask the members present if they would like to express their views on the proposal. Dave?
I'll be in favor of this minor variance tonight, Mr. Chair. It meets the 4 tests and it is minor in nature. I have no issue with it.
Okay, thank you. Ken?
Certainly agree with my fellow member and that all the reporting agencies are in support of the application.
Okay, thank you. I'll now entertain a motion.
I'll put a motion forward that minor variance file A1122 be accepted tonight, considering all written and oral comments with the conditions set forth in various agencies.
I'll
Okay, thank you.
second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Your motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You receive written notice of the committee's decision. The decision becomes final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. Thanks very much for appearing tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Could I ask for a motion now from the committee to process the signing of the decisions concurred by the majority of the members electronically?
Also move.
Seconder?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Carried. Ask if members have any corrections to the minutes of the last meeting, but I don't think we got those, did we? So we don't worry about that?
I'll probably have them ready for next meeting. We've just been swamped. I have them halfway done, but they're not completely typed up. So
okay.
I didn't send them out yet. Yeah.
All right. Is there any other business? Ken, David,
Oh,
Brianna, Mackenzie? I don't know.
I don't have any new business.
All right. And the next hearing is March sometime.
March 17th.
Okay. So if there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned at